We are talking Justin Simmons and Courtland Sutton rumors for you guys. But first, I was looking at the subscribers for the month of May between our channel and the Raiders channel, and we are kicking their ass. So if you want to keep that momentum going into the season, hit the sub button down below. What's going on, Broncos country? Welcome on into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Coming up on today's show, I want to recap the latest on the possibility of Justin Simmons returning to the Broncos, and then we're going to touch on what the current status is for Courtland Sutton, who has not been in attendance for voluntary OTAs. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler had some more information to shed on that situation. But let's start things off by talking about Justin Simmons, because Parker Gabriel from the Denver Post put out a mailbag where he answered some questions, and one of them being, hey, I noticed this guy Justin Simmons is still a free agent. Any chance he could come back to Denver? And I thought you guys might want to see what he had to say. As Gabriel wrote, never say never until Simmons signs elsewhere, but it seems very unlikely and has from the time he was released back in March. There wasn't any talk of, well, maybe if. The team put out a long goodbye statement. Now they've dished out number 31 to Abrams Drain. I'll say it for Parker because he pretty much did without being too definitive. Justin Simmons isn't returning. And there's a handful of reasons. I don't think it's just because they gave number 31 to a rookie cornerback, right? Justin Simmons could easily come back and either buy that jersey from the rookie or just pick a new number altogether. That's not, to me, the final death blow. For me, it was the moment they signed Brandon Jones that said what they wanted to do with the money at the safety position. And it wasn't long after they moved on from Justin Simmons either, right? Brandon Jones came over from the Dolphins on a 3-year, $20 million contract. The Broncos this offseason were retooling, rebuilding, whatever you want to call it, and they were cutting costs at positions that you should not overspend at unless you are in a win-now mode. Safety is a luxury position. How often do you see safeties go in the top 10 of the NFL draft? Not very often, because it's not a cornerstone position. It is a position you address once you have quarterback, left tackle, cornerback, wide receiver, defensive end, pass rusher. Those are the building blocks. And once you get those finalized, then you look at the rest of your budget and go, let's splurge on safety a little bit, like a Justin Simmons. The Broncos are not in that spot. And that's reflective by signing Brandon Jones to a 3-year, $20 million contract, re-signing PJ Locke to 2-year, $9 million and change. Combine those two guys' salaries, and it's less than what Simmons was supposed to make. Now, of course, if Justin Simmons drops his price by 90%, maybe that changes things for Denver, but I don't think there's going to be a world where Justin Simmons drops his price by 90%. So that hypothetical is just not one I think worth going down the rabbit hole of. And I think the Broncos are excited for a Jones, PJ Locke, and then a little bit of Caden Stearns. If he can stay healthy, that's going to be an exciting kind of group right there. Stearns, 49 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 4 interceptions, 9 pass breakups, 21 career games played in his young career, which unfortunately we did not see a lot of last year. Only played 1 game before getting injured. So if he can stay healthy, I think Denver is content to roll with that 3 safety look. Plus, they'll see if they can get any level of contributions from a J.L. Skinner or a Delaire Turner Yell. Now, I do love Justin Simmons as a player for the when he was a player for this team. I still root for the guy, and I'm a big fan of his because I do think he is one of the most underappreciated, just overall NFL players since he entered the league. The accolades do not match the profile and the makeup of Justin Simmons. The guy has led the NFL in interceptions since being a third-round pick back in 2016. I think Justin Simmons is without a doubt one of the most underappreciated Broncos players of all time. Let me know who another guy is that has just kind of flown under the radar and just doesn't get enough credit and attention for how maybe instrumental he was in success or just overall how good he was. For me, it's always going to be number 31, Justin Simmons. So as fun as it would be for Simmons to come back because the fan base loves him, The locker room loves him. He loves this team. He's wanted to be with this team his entire career. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen, and I'll go as far to say it's not going to happen. Now let's talk about Courtland Sutton for a moment, because ESPN's Jeremy Fowler hopped up on SportsCenter and talked about what he's hearing between Sutton, the Broncos, and a potential asking price. And here's what Fowler said. The Denver Broncos have been speaking with Sutton and his representatives. No real progress yet. So even though they were hoping he shows up for OTAs, very well might not be there. He's due about $13.6 million in cash this year. He'd like to see that get up, maybe in that $15 to $16 million range. We'll see if they can find a sweet spot. Now, back in the 2021 season, remember that's when George Paton extended both Courtland Sutton and Tim Patrick, and at the time, it really looked and sounded like a great deal for Denver. Looking back, who could have seen Tim Patrick missing the next 2 years with an injury and Courtland Sutton just not living up to that 4-year, $60 million contract up until 2023, where he had 10 touchdowns. That was top 5 in the NFL. And he's due, like Jeremy Fowler pointed out, $13.6 million in cash. Remember, NFL contracts are not always the most simplistic thing in the world. It's not, $60.8 million divided by 4. He gets $15.2 million deposited into his bank account every single year. You've got signing bonuses. You've got the payment structure not evenly spread out from year to year. So this is what the player kind of looks at. What am I taking home this year? $13.6 million and $14 million. And as Fowler points out, he's looking to get that up into the $15 million range. So not a crazy pay raise, but for an NFL team that is a little bit, I wouldn't say, tight on money because they've got the Walton Penner group, but tight on cap space-ish in terms of where they were a few weeks ago, months ago to now, they may not be looking to open up the bank account one more time. Now, the big X factor in this conversation is Courtland Sutton has the Bo Nix leverage, right? Sutton knows that Sean Payton needs Sutton a little bit more than Sutton needs the Broncos. Because if Bo Nix is going to be successful this year, he's going to need Courtland Sutton out there. I don't see a way where Bo Nix has a strong, good, adequate, encouraging season if he's got Marvin Mims, Josh Reynolds, and Tim Patrick as his top 3 guys. That is just not going to be a good enough receiving core for a rookie quarterback to see real development and progress, and the Broncos know whether or not they have something in Bo Nix. So Sutton knows this, and he knows they need me more than I need them, and if I hold out a little bit longer, I could get a nice raise. Now, I've got more to share and say on this subject in just a moment, but speaking of Bo Nix, if you want to get yourself a Bo Nix t-shirt jersey, a jersey, as I like to call it, go to chatsports.com/Nix shirt. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. We know that actual jerseys can be rather expensive, but if you want to rep your favorite team and maybe your new favorite player without breaking the bank, go to chatsports.com/Nix shirt. That link is in the comments and description of today's video. Now, Sutton may have the leverage knowing if you guys want Bo Nix to have a good rookie year, pay up a little bit more and I'll be there to catch passes for him. But I'll be honest, I don't think Courtland Sutton has earned a pay bump. I mean, he signed that 4-year, $60 million extension back in 2021, and you can see his numbers from 2021, 2022, 2023, and the guy sure had a strong 2023 season, but that came after some really slow 2022 and 2021 or really strong 2023 season after a slow 2021 and 2022 seasons where he combined for just 4 touchdowns. So to me, I don't think 1 year, a strong one in 2023, makes Courtland Sutton all of a sudden super deserving of a pay raise after 2 pretty slow years after getting a nice contract extension from Denver. So what would you do? Would you trade Sutton? Would you pay Sutton, or would you wait it out and hope, hey, he puts his tail between his legs and he shows up to mandatory minicamp and he is ready to roll the rest of the year in this hold-out-ish ends really before it ever gets started. For me, I would wait it out. I don't think that the Broncos should find themselves in a spot where they are looking to overpay Courtland Sutton. My prediction, though, is I think they end up just giving him a little bit more guaranteed money for 2025, the final year of his contract. I think that's ultimately what Courtland Sutton really wants to get out of this, dispute in his contract. Is he wants to know that he'll be here next year and not on the free agent market. And as the contract is structured right now, it'd be very easy for the Broncos to move on from Courtland Sutton after 2024. He wants another year of assurance that he'll be here. Personally, I don't think that's the greatest idea. The guy is pushing nearly 30 years old. He's never been the best separator. And as those guys get older, they tend not to mature and age super well like a fine wine would. So I don't think it would be in the Broncos' best long-term interest to give Sutton more guaranteed money for 2025, but they have to balance out the Bo Nix element of this. And they have to make sure that Nix has at least solid weapons to work with and doesn't put himself or find himself in a spot where Marvin Mims, as much as we may hope and wish has that breakout year, if he doesn't, and if Tim Patrick looks like a guy who comes off a torn ACL and Achilles and has lost a step or two, your number one guy is Josh Reynolds, a 600-yard receiver last year. Like, that's not going to leave Bo Nix in a very good spot to be successful or for the coaching staff to really learn what they have in their young quarterback. All right, that will do it for us on today's episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave us a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later.